Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a destruction match for you here today against Thong of Shakira, who has been on the channel before, usually does destruction games, and that's, well, it's the reason behind the choice of game mode for you guys today. And we had two very different styles to play this match. So it is destruction, and I'm taking a very CV heavy opener, so that's 3 command vehicles. And I did this in part just because I thought the idea would be get some sort of income advantage and then sort of turtle and get ahead, and this was just a blatant mistake. My UH-14 should not be anywhere near that far forward. It's a command vehicle for goodness sake. It, well, needs to be back here in Charlie. But we do get unloaded in Fox, and now my income is, well, getting a little bit better. We spot an MD-500D, and this sort of gave me a little bit of confusion. So I didn't have any recon helicopters of my own, which is a little unusual, but I could see this guy. I couldn't see any big columns. I have a 2A4 and a bunch of tanks really down the center for that lovely fire support and a little bit of heavy punch with the 2A4. And then a light hold on the right-hand side with KCT and a couple of AMX-13s. But I wasn't really encountering the enemy anywhere. So we had stayed spotted enough with the Verkenning that even though I'm moving up through Foxtrot right now, we should be stopping and turning around here relatively soon, maybe? Ooh, yeah, okay, BTR-80A spotted, and then between that and the knowledge that a recon helicopter with exceptional optics would see me, I was a little worried about this side. We have some artillery coming in from my opponent, but this is what I was hoping for. So the Leopards and the AMXs are able to shoot in at a column headed through Gulf. WZ is just a 15-point kill, but I mean, this was actually kind of funny. UH-14 versus an MD-500D, which cannot defend himself, and we actually get him halfway dead here, but we are taking now some fire from the ground. T-90Ss, 2 of them, and that should tell you right there where your opponent is operating, because that's 340 points, but it's 340 points that will never, ever be on their own. Right, so the knowledge that there were 2 T-90Ss there made me think, okay, it's good that I have this stuff here in Gulf. We can get some side shots and discourage, but I need to potentially be pushing in Bravo, or I need to handle this and handle it quickly. So those are really the 2 options that you have. I'd already called in double IHawk Hios, which was a bit of a problem because they were meant to handle the MD-500D, but the range really isn't right for that, 26-25 meter range, and exceptional optics should rarely get that close. So really just not the best choice for the job. And then I didn't have anything on the ground that could handle the T-90Ss. I mean, my 2A4 is only a quasi-super heavy. He doesn't have the true frontal armor necessary, doesn't have 22 AP power, things like that. So I was sitting there going, okay, what's another solution to this? I've been ticking up with 7 income for a while, and my opponent has 3. The other way through this is just attrition. The knowledge that I can make trades, and for right now, it should wind up kind of okay. We're at 30 points to 25, and I bring in an F-84F, sort of more as a testing the waters type deal than anything else. There's a PZ? Anyway, yeah, PGZ-95, that's the Red Dragon's really good anti-air, and it takes down my F-84F, so I am behind on points now, and losing the recon helicopters just going to pile in there, so I'm down 120 points to 50. That's about the ratio of our relative income. Not really ideal, but all is not yet lost. Now I know there's a PGZ-95 here. That is itself worth 70 points. I have eyes on both T-90Ss, and they're operating in the open ground, so this was a bit questionable, but I was hoping if I put the Hioses forward, I might be able to kill the Recon Helo, which I do, and then it got the T-90Ss to charge. So they're both in the open ground. I might lose a Hios, but we do get a little bit of fire on them. The Verkenning won't shoot until he can pen, so this was actually pretty decent damage. And you can see one of them's down to 5. We missed the second shot, but now they're moving back, and unfortunately, they are going to be just able to escape the wrath of my Block 15. So we lose vision on them just at the last second, evac ordered, trying to get out of there alive, and both of those tanks are still there. Now, you wouldn't be able to tell that necessarily in Conquest. I mean, we didn't see an explosion, but depending on the optics situation, you might not. But we definitely know that they're alive in Destruction because I have not received the points for getting the kill, which is kind of a big deal. However, the Verkenning is still shooting in, at least it was, and we almost killed some Geogostai as well, so that's a 35-point value. In the meantime, I was debating also capping Bravo, but honestly, even with the hotel cap for my opponent, I'm still getting more income than he is, and that is going to add up pretty quickly. Now, this is the thing I don't particularly enjoy about Destruction. It does tend to lull out a little bit, so probably not too uncommon of a sight, but I don't know, it's tricky, right? Because in Conquest, I'd be in a decent situation. I would have I would be headed toward Bravo, I would have a decent toehold in Golf, and I'd be taking up on points. Right now I'm not taking up on points, and if I suicide my Verkenning in here, I definitely won't be. I just wanted eyes because I had a plane circling in the background, the Block 15 OCU, who did that annoying thing that planes do and is taking forever to circle around when given a target. But at least I got the 70 points anti-air kill. That should make my Block 15 a little bit safer, and then I am evacing him as I decide, you know what, I've been in the open a bit too long, that's not really what I want to do. Meanwhile, we do have our first skirmish on the right hand side here, KCT getting a couple of nice shots off, but that does prompt a bit of a counteroffensive as well, and the WZ-551s can shred infantry in close combat. Not to mention this is, I don't know, it's a good medium tank, the ZTZ-88A, really no complaints about it, 17 AP, 12 frontal armor. I know a couple of Blue 4 factions that would love to have that at 70 points. Probably would redefine their meta a little bit, but I don't know. Some of them also have heavier armor options available. I don't particularly love having this guy out in the high ground. Just because I couldn't hit him doesn't make this a good decision, because the KCT, I mean, I have enough of a toehold here, and this is just a short jaunt. If I had infantry right there, I could pop them up onto, well, out in the open onto that ridge. We'd be able to take a shot in and then get back, and I'd probably survive, and even if I didn't, it would be a worthwhile trade, because a single Special Forces squad probably could get the kill. So, Bo Chung Su are pushing forward, and that's probably why the ZTZ was there, trying to get fire support on the KCT of mine, but it's not going to be quick enough. You need faster firing, maybe a couple fewer points. So, with the attention now renewed on the right side of the field, I'm bringing in a bunch of reinforcements, and we're also getting some recon infantry headed toward Foxtrot. I have something a little bit tricky up my sleeve here. We're going to see if it works out at all, but you know, fingers crossed and all that. I did need more base defense than I had, but seeing the double T90S and then knowing that we were getting some sparring done here kind of made me think that it wouldn't really be necessary, and I don't know, this is an interesting game to say the least, but it's not the most knockdown drag out fight of all games, so I do apologize for that. It was very, I don't know, cerebral's not the right word because it's still a war game, but it was very purposeful, I think. So each of these Huzhou Ren and PWI combos is going to be about 25 points. It's not the cheapest, and the PWIs aren't the cheapest, but I just wanted a field of infantry out here, and a field of infantry with optics, so you can already see cargo trucks moving. We should be able to see other things relatively quickly, and I have a couple of trucks on the right-hand side that are going to be healing up my KCT. And the basic idea here was to move forward, get things to shoot at me, and then take them out from afar. So I have double Block 15 OCU, and this is only allowable because I have that income advantage. So we get a couple shots off, see the T90s a little bit too late, and instead of hitting the T90s, I instead hit 15 points worth of vehicle, and then make the turn. So we are going to be making a second pass. A little bit unfortunate we couldn't get it on the first pass, but so far we're only down about 10 points from that, and we're getting a couple other nice picks here on the other side of the board, taking out those Zills. Mortar is taken down, and we get some fire on the front of the T90s, but no joy, and there is more anti-air. So a lot of information out of that, plus we have clawed things back now, 260 kills to 225, so not only do I now have an income advantage, I also have a kills advantage, so there's definitely more of my units on the board than my opponents. And unfortunately my Huzhou Ren are sort of paying the troll toll, but that shouldn't be too bad of a thing in the long run. On this side I just have Nathra and AMX Prees. The idea here is you get that 3 frontal armor with the AMX Prees and then just bodies, and it can grind through infantry reasonably well, better than you might expect. Losing all 3 of the Huzhou Ren was not really what I had hoped for, but I don't know, these guys get away with 2 strength. Good enough for me for right now. And I just capped Bravo, which means that now I'm making +5 on my opponent, so relative income. And I mean, we're moving around a little, but that should be a steady cap here in just a minute. And I don't know, it was at that point I think my opponent was starting to sweat a little bit, and it's very weird to be on the receiving end of an income disparity because it forces you to think differently. And it's very tempting to say, okay, I just need more stuff on the board, I have to keep up with them with stuff on the board, but if you don't buy more command vehicles, it's going to catch up with you, and Alpha has been uncapped for 11 minutes now. There's been no pressure from me in Alpha, short of tiny little skirmishes that are really more in the contested zone here in Bravo. So that should be capped, that should have been +2 income, and it would have paid for itself about 5 minutes ago. Which, there's a lot to be said for that. You really need those points in this game. You need to have stuff on the ground, because otherwise it's just going to be a little bit of a grind, and eventually I'm just going to throw everything at you, and it's going to be rough, it's going to be ugly. So you can't really get away with doing that. Now, I do lose my recon on the left-hand side, and that did get me a little bit worried, so we are going to be bringing out a couple of recon infantry, just to sit in the town to be deadly if need be at close range, but just an effective scouting tool. And now I'm doing things a little bit differently. These are Natra and AMX Prees, and each one of these blocks is 40 points. So all in all, it's roughly the same number of points as my 3 Huzaren, but it's 8 units of infantry, it's 8 vehicles. All of this will mean that it can take incoming fire for a lot longer, and even if the recon isn't as good on these guys, they still should be able to see heavy tanks shooting at them. Now finally Alpha is capped, but that's 12 minutes in, and even though my opener was a little bit command vehicle heavy, I think 12 minutes in might be a little bit lackadaisical, so I mean, we'll see. We'll see. There are some interesting things in the end screen, and that should be coming up in about a minute here as I'm starting my last push. AMX Pre is getting a little bit out ahead of what I would like. Leopard for Kenning should be following up by now, but the Natra are also spreading out and moving forward, and there's nothing shooting at them right now. So, I mean, I'm fine with that. If I can take this ground for free, I will, but there are the two T90Ss still grouped together, and they have been healed up. There has been nice resupply from my opponent here, but double block 15, and even if I lose one of these to anti-air, I really don't care that much. We get one kill, we do lose vision, but the second block 15 gets a second kill, and that's 340 points worth of dead super heavies. Did lose a block 15, and I have a bomber that's actually headed for the MD 500T, but at this point that's going to be GG from my opponent here, as I mean, there's a 120 point deficit, but the amount of stuff he has on the field is not, well, actually that's not terrible. Huh. The impression I had speaking with him was that it was far worse than this. Honestly, if you look at the neutral, I have a much less spread out section of control. WZ-551 back there, there's a good hold on this side. I mean, I think he had tools left in his toolbox, honestly, and that's not the case that I got when I was just looking at my side of the replay. Very much the opposite. Huh. Well, sorry for the late recording plot twist. I don't always check my opponent's side of the field the whole time, because usually you see that sort of stuff in the fighting. But 600 points of kills to 495 points in losses, but the income disparity was sort of more interesting for me. There's a 550 or so point income disparity, and that really, I think, sealed the deal. So, not much to say for the units that did well. Block 15, of course, did very well, both of them getting a kill on T90S, and that's going to be all we've got for you guys today, so thank you all for hanging around. We'll see you again real soon.